Again, we pray that P. Diddy has nothing to do with this, that he's innocent of all the allegations being leveled against him. But it ain't a good look at all.
The judge's voice was on fire. There was a strange silence in the courtroom that day. Not because it was quiet, but because something historic was about to happen. And then the judge leaned forward, looked straight at Diddy and said, "Mr. Combs is a violent threat." That wasn't just a sentence. That was the public murder of a legacy right there in the courtroom. Diddy, same man who built a musical empire, launched a generation and turned himself into a billionaire brand, was now being labeled as a danger to society. Gone was the bad boy swagger. Gone was the untouchable aura. All that remained was fear, and a federal voice that echoed like thunder. According to insider sources, the judge calmly placed the files on the bench, looked directly at the defense and said, "The statements, the threats, the alleged coercion, they're not just allegations anymore. They represent a pattern of power used violently." There was no Hollywood energy in that courtroom. No PR team could save him now. This time Diddy had to face something he never truly faced before: accountability. The judge had no sympathy in her eyes. There was no red carpet, no cameras allowed, only cold justice. And then she said it again louder: "He's not safe for the victims. He's not safe for this system." At that moment Diddy's face went pale. He didn't say a word. His lawyers shuffled a few papers, but even they looked defeated. It was like witnessing a legal funeral via final. But the most shocking part, the judge said they didn't even need more evidence. "What's already public is more than enough," she said. Backstage breakdown: Diddy loses his moment. Diddy stepped out of that courtroom, everything changed. Gone was the man who once smiled for flashing lights. What emerged from those double doors wasn't a celebrity, it was a man cornered, panicked, furious. According to multiple insiders, the first thing Diddy did after walking out was snap, not at the press, not at the judge, but at his own legal team. "You said we were covered. You said we had this." Witnesses say he slammed his palm against the wall inside the courthouse hallway. His voice wasn't calm, it cracked with frustration, confidence, and fear. He turned to one of his attorneys and shouted, "You told me the judge wouldn't say that in public." A few feet away, one of his longtime assistants sat down on the floor crying, head in her hands. Panic was spreading like wildfire through Team Diddy. Phone calls started flying: PR heads, crisis managers, and old industry contacts. But the energy was different this time. This wasn't a PR emergency. This was a collapse. One security guard who witnessed the outburst described Diddy as completely unglued. Another said it didn't look like a celeb meltdown. It looked like a man realizing his power was gone. Even his private driver, the same one who always waited outside with his slick black SUV, seemed hesitant. Diddy paused at the door. He looked up, not at the cameras but at the sky. A long empty stare, the kind you give when you finally understand this is bigger than you. And the most chilling moment, sources say he mumbled something under his breath while getting into the car: "They're not gonna stop. They want it all." It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't defiance. It was fear, real raw human fear. Hollywood turns 50 Cent, Suge Knight, and the silence that screams. As soon as the judge's words hit the headline, Hollywood did what it always does: it reacted. But this time silence was louder than the noise. The ones who usually defend Diddy nowhere to be seen. And those who had been warning us for years, they finally stepped out of the shadows, lewd and apologetic and ready to talk. The first shot came from none other than 50 Cent. On Instagram, he reposted a clip from 2011, an old interview where he had said Puff's day is coming. Just watch. And in classic 50 style, the caption read, "Told y'all, the empire always falls." Within minutes, post had over 1 million views. The internet didn't just watch it, celebrated. Because for years people had called him bitter or jealous. But now he looked like a prophet. Then came Katt Williams. The same comedian won his viral Club Shay Shay interview, called out Diddy for running things behind curtains. This time wasn't laughing. He went live and said, "When you abuse power for too long, it doesn't just snap back. It snaps your whole career in half." And from behind bars, even Suge Knight had something to say. A recorded phone call leaked online, his voice low but clear: "I told Puff years ago, this game don't forget. And the streets remember more than the courts ever will." What made all this worse for Diddy? The silence from his friends. Jay-Z, no comment. Khaled, nothing. Mary, Blige quiet. The industry that once crowned him was now watching from a distance, arms folded, waiting to see if he sinks. And that's when you realize it's not just the media turning on him. It's his own circle. The champagne toasts are over. Now it's just cold looks and legal countdowns. The media flipped from king to criminal overnight. Same media that once worshipped Diddy now had blood in its eyes. Headlines weren't cautious anymore, they were cold, direct, and brutal. Diddy declared a violent threat. New York Post judge slams combs over explosive allegations in from bad boy to dangerous man. TMZ, these weren't blog posts or gossip threads. These were front-page headlines, National Globalist. And they all carried one message: Diddy's image is not just broken, it's buried. Within 24 hours of the court ruling, were of Diddy's top PR firms, companies he had been loyal to for over a decade, quietly pulled out. They didn't release a statement. They just updated their websites and erased his name from their client lists. One insider said this isn't just a scandal, it's reputational death. No agency wants to be tied to it. Brand partnerships began dissolving like sugar in hot water. A luxury vodka brand paused their campaign featuring Diddy. A fashion line that once called him their forever icon deleted every photo of him from their page. Even streaming platforms reportedly began deprioritizing his content, quickly with it explanation. And fans noticed. Twitter, Instagram, all flooded with clips of Diddy's past interviews, now viewed with suspicion. Where once people laughed or admired his confidence, and now they saw arrogancy, cantar, and dark undertones. The shift was brutal. A viral TikTok showed a side-by-side of Diddy at the Grammys and Diddy walking out of court. The caption: how it started, how it's ending. The man who once controlled the narrative had lost it completely. And the media's his biggest weapon was now his executioner. Because in this era, public image isn't protected by power, it's destroyed by proof. The past was never dead, it was just paid to stay quiet. His fall didn't happen overnight. The foundations of Diddy's empire weren't just built on talent. They were built on silence, heavy, expensive, and dangerous silence. And no, those ghosts are kicking down the doors. Behind every hit song, every red carpet, and every champagne celebration, there were stories that never made it to headlines. Because they were buried under NDAs, buried under fear, buried under money. But you can only hide fire under paper for so long. Sources inside the investigation revealed that over a dozen confidential settlements are now being reviewed. Women who once signed agreements to never speak again are now legally free to testify because of new federal protections for abuse victims. And what they're saying, it's enough to shake even the hardest courtroom. One woman described being locked inside a recording studio for hours. Another said she was blacklisted from the industry after refusing to cooperate at a party. A former bodyguard reportedly told investigators, "I saw things I still can't sleep through." He had power over everyone and he knew it. There's even an old 2006 case, long settled, now resurfacing. A female artist had accused Diddy of emotional torture and psychological destruction. At the time, it vanished quietly. Today, that file is being used as supporting evidence. Even some of Diddy's former collaborators are breaking silence. One R&B singer posted anonymously, "I was 19. He was a legend. And I was scared. Ali Baya Sab surf rumors nahi. Yewo stories Hanjo Solin tagged Bay gay or AB wo courtroom kimikpe bal rahi hain." This isn't just a fall from fame. It's a reckoning, decades in the making. Because no matter how rich, how popular, how protected someone is, truth has a way of bleeding through, especially when it's been gagged for too long. The endgame trial, jailer, total collapse. So now the world is asking, what's next for Diddy? Will this end in a silent settlement, or is he heading toward a public trial and maybe even prison? Legal experts say the odds aren't in his favor. If the court denies his bail again in the next hearing, he could be placed in pre-trial detention. That means months behind bars even before formal sentencing begins. And if the prosecution locks in federal racketeering, trafficking, intimidation charges, we're not talking about a slap on the wrist. We're talking about 10 to 25 years in federal time. Insiders claim Diddy's team is desperately working behind the scenes to arrange a sealed settlement, something private, fast and buried. But this time, the judge doesn't seem willing to play that game. Public interest outweighs private influence, the court said last week. Justice must be seen That one sentence crushed whatever chance he had of quietly escaping the spotlight. And here's what really stings for Diddy: this isn't just about law anymore. It's about legacy. Even if he walks free, his name may never recover. Because now every artist he launched, every deal he made, every award he won, is being rewatched under a new lens. Not of admiration, but suspicion. Social media isn't forgiving. The comments aren't confused. They're angry. They're demanding blood. And unlike in the past, silence no longer protects predators. So is this truly the end? It might be. Because when a federal judge publicly calls you a violent threat, when your empire crumbles in full view, when even your own circle ghosts you, you don't just lose your career. You lose your power. Your silence. Your shield. And when that happens in America, there's only one place left to go: the courtroom. And then, the cell.